Hello, and welcome back to the Glowing Mama Method podcast, where we discuss healthy and sustainable weight loss for women over 40. Today, we're speaking on a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and that is my first love in this industry, which is fitness. I have been a lifer in the fitness industry. I started as a receptionist and eventually went into sales, and I just loved being in that fitness world. Naturally, I went on to go to school for kinesiology during my undergrad, and I graduated with a certificate in fitness assessment and exercise counseling, and immediately went on to become a personal trainer. I actually graduated with a certification in exercise physiology, so that was my entry point into the world of personal training. I loved this job. I loved helping people learn how to move their bodies better. I loved focusing on functional fitness and just helping people get more acquainted with their bodies. The human body is essentially a complicated pulley system, and I loved teaching people how to work the machine that they lived in. There was one thing I started to notice over time as a personal trainer. People were spending hundreds of dollars a month to come and see me once or twice a week, and every 3 months when I would do testing on them, it would seem that many people were stuck spinning their wheels. I started to get really curious about why this was happening, especially because I had my own struggles with weight loss, even though I was a lifetime exerciser as well, and I was working out 3, 4, even 5 times a week. I started to realize that the people who were taking care of what they were actually putting in their mouth was what separated people who saw results from people who didn't. And this was when I really started to understand that this whole idea of just eat less and move more was quickly being picked apart by what I was seeing in the industry, which is you actually need to pay attention to the quality of the foods that are going into your body. And no matter how much you work out, until you put all of the pieces together, you're not going to see weight loss, no matter how much you lean into that fitness category. So many people who subscribe to this idea of eat less and move more, they're trying to restrict their calories and they're trying to just get more exercise in. And then they're frustrated and disappointed when they step on the scale and it is not budging. And I can understand the frustration here because A, I've been through that myself, and B, it really can be disheartening to put all of this time, work, and effort in and still not see the result that you're looking for. So what are we doing wrong here? And how do we need to frame our mind around how fitness should be approached? I think part of the problem is that eating less and moving more actually worked for us in our 20s. Well, for some people, that was never the case for me, but a lot of people come to me saying, it worked. For a certain period of time, I could just restrict my calories and work out 5 times a week. I even just spoke to someone recently who was like, I was working out twice a day and eating in a calorie deficit, and the weight would come off. And now that she's around 40, it's just not working anymore. And especially if you are around 40 and have had children. So what we need to understand is that our body can only handle so much revving of the nervous system before it goes on shutdown, safety, protection mode. So when you are stressed in your life from home and work and life and all of the things, all of the curveballs that are coming your way, and then you stress your system further by under eating and overtraining, your body is going to become weight loss resistant, and the harder you work, the harder it's going to be to lose the weight, which is incredibly frustrating. And I understand this. So what we actually need to do is start to look at exercise as a tool for our mental health, a tool for moving energy and getting oxygenated and nutrient-rich blood around our body to all of the vessels, and creating an uplifted mood and an uplifted experience of your day in and day out. Better sleep, better bowel movements, protecting the bones, building muscle. As we start to age, we actually start to lose muscle rapidly. So if you are in the decades before you hit 40, it is the time to fight for your life for how much muscle you can put on so that later in life you can remain metabolically active. And this is what I mean when I say that fitness is not a short-term weight loss tool. It is a long-term weight loss tool, because as you build muscle, which is going to happen at the rate of about a pound a month if you're doing all the right things, then you are going to create a system that is more metabolically active and can actively burn fat throughout the day without even having to do anything. But short term, if we're trying to get fit for summer or look good for a wedding or lose 10 pounds in the next month, it's not going to work, because we need time to implement fitness in order for it to actually start to affect the number on the scale. And so it's one of those things that's going to challenge your need for instant gratification, especially the day and age that we live in now, where everything is at our fingertips and we are getting validated every second of the day. Exercise is going to take some grit, and it's going to take some consistency to get to the point where you're actually starting to get the return on your investment. So if fitness isn't for short-term weight loss, then what is? The other three pillars are where you need to focus your attention as you continue to exercise and move your body at least twice a week. My recommendation for most women is 2 strength workouts a week, and then anything else outside of that. So walking, biking, swimming, just getting moving in a way that you actually find enjoyment. So it's not necessarily important that you do specific types of workouts, at least not initially. If you are resistant to exercise and you have been sedentary for quite some time, then the best way to start is to do something you enjoy. Can you sign up for a dance class? Can you go to Pilates or yoga or bar or just anything that you find enjoyable? Can you go out for a nice nature walk? What is it that you have access to at this moment that is actually going to bring joy into your life? Because when it brings joy into your life, you're actually going to prioritize it and do it because you want to, not because you have to. Now, eventually, I would say, yes, strength training, resistance training, this is a necessary piece of the plan when it comes to fitness. But if you don't have the capacity to start there, then just start wherever you're at. And then when you do get into strength training, you can work it in progressively with either the right coaching or your own research and trial and error. The former will get you there quicker, but, some people are just very determined to do this on their own, and all the power to you if that's the case. But essentially what I do is I teach everybody what took me decades to learn in 3 to 6 months. So learning through someone else's mistakes is the fastest way to get better at something. And so investing in 3 to 6 months of coaching can be really, really helpful for you to get to those goals as quickly as possible. And if that is something that you are looking to discuss, then you can head into the show notes where there will be a link to book a complimentary consultation. So circling back to what do we actually do for short-term weight loss, we need to focus on our nutrition. We need to focus on our sleep. I can't stress that enough. Sleep at least 8 hours a day. And I love to call that the laziest weight loss tool that I have to offer, because all you have to do is lie down. It's very hard for a lot of us to accomplish that, but just always strive, always negotiate for as much sleep as you can possibly get, especially as a woman, especially as a mother, especially as you enter menopause years. You need your sleep. And if it is not happening, we need to go to the root of why it's not happening and correct for those things so that we can improve your sleep and get that a solid pillar and foundation for your weight loss goals. When it comes to food, you want to be eating your protein, your produce, your fats, and your ferments. That is the simplest way that you are going to find short-term weight loss, because these are whole foods that your body recognizes. They don't have ingredients, they are ingredients. And when you eat this way, your body will very quickly start to shed weight. And then, of course, if we're fitting in some strategic fasting windows in there, especially for women, cycle appropriate fasting windows, then you are off to the races. And then for those people who are doing all of those things, I'm moving my body appropriately, I'm eating whole foods, I'm paying attention to quality, I'm sleeping well, but something is just blocking me from the success that I am after. Now, a lot of people who think that they're in that category are not. And once I start doing some digging, I see a lot of things that I can actually tweak and change in order for you to see some quick change in your body. However, there are people who are doing all the things and they just don't know how to overcome the plateau or resistance that they're facing. And to that, I would say that mindset work is going to be where you need to put your focus. There is likely something that you are holding on to within you that needs to be unpacked in order for your body to release weight. When you release emotional weight, you also release physical weight, and one will follow the other. You just have to be brave enough to dive in and do that work that is necessary for you to overcome the symptoms that you're facing, which are holding on to this extra weight. And that actually might come with even more symptoms like joint pain or autoimmune issues, gut issues, mental health issues. What is the state that you're presently in? And what is it trying to teach you about you? Right? We could sit there in victim mentality and think, why me? Why is this happening to me? My body hates me. My body is betraying me. It's actually quite the opposite. Your body is trying so hard to get your attention through the symptoms, because that is the language that the body speaks. So pay attention and do the work that you know needs to be done. And I know this can be hard to do, especially if there were serious traumas in your life. It can be very difficult to start to approach this, which is why I would also recommend working with someone who can guide you through this stuff one step at a time with some really strategic frameworks that can help you access the parts of you that need unpacking so that you can get on and thrive and take the lessons and the blessings from those experiences in order to live your best life from there. So I want to finish by saying that I never want you to feel discouraged if you're working out and you're not seeing the results on the scale. There are likely some other things that you need to put your focus into. And I want you to know that working out more isn't necessarily the solution to the problem. If you are sedentary, then moving more is definitely going to be part of the solution. But if you're working out at least a couple times a week, then adding more isn't necessarily what's going to get you to the result that you need. And oftentimes we go off the deep end when it comes to how to approach this, because we just think that if we work out more frequently and or more intensely, then we will see the results that we want to see. And then it's just going to be disheartening when you step on the scale and you haven't seen movement. So get your sleep in check, get your nutrition in check, get digging into that mindset work. And if you need guidance on how to do this, then hit me up for a consultation and I can help you get there and continue on your fitness journey. But when you approach exercise, I want you to do so in a way that feels empowered. You know you're going to exercise and your mood is going to be better after that. You know you're going to sleep better. You know your bowels are going to move better, which is going to make you also feel better. You know that you're going to probably choose better foods when you're on a fitness journey because you don't want to throw away the results that you're working so hard for. So start to approach fitness like that and watch your life change, because it's just one mindset shift away. If you are stressing about why fitness isn't getting you the results you need and responding by doubling down on your fitness and stressing out about it some more, that is a recipe for disaster, and it is not a recipe for weight loss, that's for sure. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and it's just another example of how interconnected the 4 pillars are. You literally cannot talk about one pillar without talking about the other 3. And they all support each other, and they all work together to get you the results that you're looking for. From this point forward, we are breaking up with hyper-focusing on fitness as the way to lose weight. We are going to nourish our bodies properly. We're going to work out in a way that supports our mood and adds enjoyment and health and longevity to our life, and we'll take it from there. I'll see you guys next week on the Glowing Mama Method podcast.